Members, please be seated. We have another meeting of the Subcommittee on Policy Issues relating to strengthening and promoting the development of Kowloon East as the second CBD. This is the 5th meeting. I thank members and representatives of the administration for attending the meeting. Before we go into the actual agenda items, let's first discuss the date of the next meeting items for discussion. The next meeting of the subcommittee will be held on 29th of April between 10:45 in the morning and 12:45 p.m. We are to discuss promoting cultural, arts, and sports activities in Kowloon East as well as development of tourism industry. We will discuss how the administration is developing sports as an industry and culture and arts activities in the second CBD in Kowloon East. We will talk in particular about the Kai-Tak Sports Park and the cruise terminal. Are there any comments from members on the proposed arrangements? If not, we will hold the 6th meeting on the 29th of April to focus on developing culture, sports, and tourism as an industry. Now, let's move on to the second agenda item, situation of promoting the development of new industries and implementing smart city development in the second CBD in Kowloon East. We have many representatives of the administration here. We have the team led by Mr. Ricky Lau. We also have Ms. April Kuhn, head of the EKEO, Energizing Kowloon East office. We also have from the ITIB, Dr. Minge, Commissioner for Industry, Innovation and Technology, and Ms. Jessica Lee, Principal Assistant Secretary for Innovation, Technology and Industry. We also have the heads from the Lands Department, the Drainage Services Department, as well as the Electrical and Mechanical Services Department. We have 2 papers here, and let's first ask Mr. Ricky Lau to brief members on the papers. Thank you, Chair. I would like to thank members for giving us some comments on developing Kowloon East as the second CBD. We have got some valuable feedback. I would like to thank members again for that. Today, we'll talk about promoting the development of new industries and implementing smart city development in the second CBD in Kowloon East. As you may know, the INT policies in Hong Kong are led by the ITIB, so we're very glad to have Commissioner for Industry, Innovation and Technology, Dr. Minge, and Ms. Jessica Lee, the Principal Assistant Secretary from the ITIB here today. We also have various representatives of the administration here. We have submitted 2 papers, one from the ITIB on development of new industrialization. We also have another paper provided by the Development Bureau and the Transport and Logistics Bureau on smart city development and development of low altitude economy in Hong Kong. We will first ask Dr. Minge to talk about development of new industrialization in areas including Kowloon East. We have all along been promoting efficient and high-quality projects. We have already been promoting the development of green and resilient infrastructure. We have incorporated such elements in our design. Apart from promoting environmental friendliness, we have been making good use of materials and advanced technologies to upgrade our designs and enhance efficiency. We have also set up a dedicated task force to set up our strategy in developing smart city. So Let me first ask Dr. Minge to brief members on development of new industrialization. Good morning. I thank the Permanent Secretary for giving an introduction. Promoting INT development is core to high-quality development of Hong Kong. We have been making good use of development of industries to lead the development of INT and thus the economy of Hong Kong. We have been developing advanced manufacturing, new energy, as well as AI and robotics to create new impetus for growth of the economy. With this strategic development, Hong Kong has been making good use of the INT development blueprint as a top-level design. There are 4 directions for development. In particular, we are promoting new industrialization and enhancing INT ecosystem. With a series of measures and the adoption of multi-pronged approach, we have been consolidating resources and setting up an ecosystem in Hong Kong for INT. In particular, for strategic industries, we have set up some smart production facilities. In September 2024, we have set up a $10 billion new industrialization acceleration scheme. Since its launch 4 months ago, we have received 6 applications, and 1 project in the health area has been approved with funding. As at end of January, we have enhanced the new industrialization funding scheme to further support producers in Hong Kong to set up smart production lines. As at the end of January, we have over 100 smart production lines that are supported with this scheme. This will help enhance upgrading and transformation of industries. We have achieved good results with the 2 schemes. It demonstrates that we have initial success in promoting enterprises in new industrialization. Not only does it help the enterprises with various measures, the administration has been supporting strategic enterprises to attract more talents and support startups. This has created solid foundations for the promotion of INT and setting up of an INT ecosystem. As at January this year, we have liaised with 130 representative INT enterprises with great potential for them to establish their presence in Hong Kong or expand their operations in Hong Kong. We have also been promoting exchanges between local and overseas enterprises. What we did included promoting the realization of INT R&D outcomes. We have also the Research Talent Hub scheme to attract more talents to come to Hong Kong. We believe the manufacturing sector in the Kowloon East area can also benefit from this development, upgrading and transforming themselves. The manufacturing sector in Kowloon East has helped Hong Kong prosper in the 1960s. Now, I think the manufacturing sector in Kowloon East can reach new heights, and we will need to rely on concerted efforts for that to happen. We can make good use of the foundations of the manufacturing sector in Kowloon East and the various industrial buildings to help take forward this development. We will continue to promote new industrialization and support enterprises to further develop, including helping Kowloon East enterprises to upgrade and transform. We look forward to hearing members' feedback. That's it from me. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ge. On smart city development, We have some flood-resilient infrastructure. It is the foundations in Kowloon East. The Drainage Services Department has been working hard on this, including having smart drainage hydrological information system and remote-controlled desilting robots. The DSD has also been making good use of advanced technologies to take forward drainage improvement works in Wong Tai Sin and Ao Tau Kok. We have recently opened Tree Ping River. We have the smart water gate set up there. It is an innovative approach to take forward such infrastructure. We have also some large-scale construction works in Kowloon East that make good use of advanced technologies, including the Trunk Road T2 and Charcoal Link Tunnel project. We have made use of MEP, BIM, as well as digital project management systems and smart site safety management and other systems to enhance speed, quantity, efficiency, quality, and site safety of the projects. Green and smart building is an important part of smart city development. Kowloon East has over 80 buildings that have received the Green Building Council's BEAM Plus ratings. Kowloon East is therefore the area with the highest ratio of green buildings. It shows that CBD2 has an edge in going green. Data collection is also very important in smart city development. We need to make sure data collected will be put to good use. With the Digital Policy Office's multifunctional smart lamppost pilot scheme, we have over 400 smart lampposts in operation, more than 80 of them in Kowloon East. The real-time city data collected by the smart lampposts, including meteorological data, air quality, and traffic flow, have been released as open data. The government will make use of smart lampposts as infrastructure in new development areas for smart city development. We also have the Common Spatial Data Portal that has 1,000 odd spatial data sets from over 60 departments and organizations. The Lands Department has used Kowloon East as trial to develop the first set of 3D indoor map. It has now been extended to other places. We expect that the full set of 3D digital map to be completed in the first half of 2025. 3D modeling technique has been used in various areas to help with planning and decision-making process. We also have the government-wide IoT network to collect various data. We have set up a network to support the development of a smart city with this. As a testing project of Smart City Initiative, the EKEO has collaborated with the Lands Department to develop a comprehensive app, MyKE, to establish an information platform for Kowloon East to facilitate communication and share real-time data. The EKEO has also collaborated with various organizations to develop a testing platform in Kowloon East to encourage various organizations to test their apps and other applications. We have also supported the CUHK students to take part tertiary students to take part in STEM-related courses. I also urge members to take note of paragraphs 21 to 23 on the latest information provided by the Transport and Logistics Bureau. They have in particular talked about implementing a sandbox to implement pilot projects. We also are taking forward various areas of work, including liaising with mainland authorities, legislative review, and infrastructural planning to take forward low-altitude economic development. Is that it, Permanent Secretary?
I can see that there are a total of 5 colleagues who would like to ask questions. Let me read them out. Young Wing Kit, William Wong, Chen Pui Leung, Doreen Kong, and me. We have quite a lot of time here, so I'll allow 6 minutes for each. Thank you very much for the introduction of the department. Well, I thought that you were talking about something territory-wide if I did not read the topic carefully. Today, we are focusing on developing Kowloon East at the second CBD. I hope that you will be more focused, be it new industrialization or the development of smart city. I hope that you can put more emphasis on Kowloon East. Let's talk about new industrialization. Just now, ITIB talks about the policies, but I'm not sure if you are talking about the Northern Metropolis or the Science Park or other locations. To be frank, I think that is one line that you put it very well. That is to customize your policies. In Kowloon East, we have some traditional manufacturing sectors, but we also have some light manufacturing. Sometimes it's garments, printing. We have a cluster of them in Kowloon East. If we want to promote new industrialization in Kowloon East, we have to focus on promoting industries like printing, garment manufacturing, to promote the technologies, and also the flower factory. How can we encourage them to be transformed and upgrade? Do we have any measures to support these existing industry to be upgraded and transformed? Well, you can spend hours talking about automobile, new energy, or life science, but I think they all belongs to NM, Northern Metropolis. It's not for Kowloon East. Can you be more focused and talk about Kowloon East? We really need to customize our policies according to the district. I hope that you would really respond to this. According to the manufacturing, or the printing, or the Kowloon Flower Factory, how can we help them to upgrade and transform themselves? But of course, it's not all about Kowloon East, but at least I think it will be your major focus. Second, about smart city. I think most of them have been covered already. I have been to Shenzhen for a field study. They talk about smart meter. I think this is something we can consider as well. I understand the last time we talked about traffic, you said that we have sufficient parking space in Kowloon East. It's not something that we need to worry. Well, we need to catch up with time. In mainland China, they are making use of some very smart technology. When you park into that space, they will start to count the time already. You can split out your charges by minutes, so it will speed up circulation. Since we are a new district, is it possible for us to deploy new technology to think more about smart parking? I also want to talk about smart constructions. This has been covered already. You are already covering it, but I also want to put a few more points here. In mainland China, I know that there are some electricity generating glass facade. In Kowloon East, we have a lot of commercial buildings. Can we revise our design standards so that we can encourage them to introduce some electricity generating glass facade? I also want to talk about the revitalization of rivers or Nula. Just now you have mentioned about Chaping River. I know that it's very pretty and I really envy of it, but that's not the only one. We also have Kai Tak River, the segment that is right next to air side, that is the lowest rim of Kai Tak River. Sometimes there are some odor. You also talk about the smart water gate. Can you spare some thoughts and take care of the silting issue there? We have sufficient time. Permanent Secretary, perhaps you can dedicate. Thank you, Chair, and thank you for your question. There are a number of questions. Perhaps I can invite different colleagues or even those from ITIB to help respond to them accordingly. Just now you have mentioned about Kowloon East as a key point for promoting smart city. You also asked if this is a pilot platform. Well, because Kowloon East carried certain characteristics to support our work. First, it is our second CBD. is pretty advanced. It also comes with a lot of auxiliary facilities. It is also a district with a mix of new and old. At this moment, it is still heavily loaded with some traditional manufacturing industry. In Kowloon East, we also have a diverse variety of property. Some are industrial buildings, commercial buildings, etc. And there are a lot of vibrancy in this area. So it is really helpful for us to match the development of both the industry, the academia, and R&D. And the rental rate is also very attractive for startups. As commissioners mentioned, we also collaborate with the university and the R&D Institute to promote and collaborate the overall INT development and application in Kowloon East. If we have any pilot point or pilot scheme, we would surely work with different departments in order to streamline the application as well as various requirements. As ITIB, we also offer a lot of funds to support these institutions to come to this area and set up their own establishment. Speaking of new industrialization, upgrading, and transformation, I would also like to invite our colleague from ITIB to respond to it. You have also mentioned about some smart meter. These are some new technologies. Your comments is well taken. We will take it back to the Transport Department. I think they are really open to explore it further. Speaking of the electricity generating facade, I think I can direct it to the Buildings Department. I think recently, according to my information, since last September, they have released a new set of code of conduct encouraging people to install solar energy panels on the exterior of the buildings. We also encourage BIM's green building. There are a number of evaluation areas, including innovative technology. As the Commissioner has mentioned, it is an area with the highest ratio of green buildings. In certain leads, we also require certain projects to acquire at least a gold level under BIMs. This is our basic requirement. For government buildings, they all need to attain gold level or a platinum level. So we are open towards this opinion. If it is applicable, we are happy to make use of it. About revitalizing our river, I would also like to direct it to the Drainage Department. Let me first direct a question to ITIB. Thank you for your question. As mentioned, the manufacturing industry in Kowloon East is a major engine in supporting the economic development in the last century. While it is rather easy for us to develop new industrialization, but it does not mean that we are going to abandon the traditional ones. Conversely, well, before joining the government in Kowloon East, I have supported a lot of manufacturing companies to upgrade and transform. And we also offer them a new industrialization funding scheme. On a ratio of 1:2, we want to support the traditional manufacturing sector to upgrade and transform. They can set up their own smart assembly line. This is the first point. Second, as I mentioned, in Kowloon East, we see the potentials of developing some innovative industry. Well, what we always mention is the work-life balance, and the development of industry needs to strike a balance between the living standard. So here we want to see that we can see that in Kowloon East, we have a lot of good facility support. Kowloon East is developing into a CBD2. They have good living environments, including open space, parks, etc. we are thinking of introducing more INT industry into those old industrial buildings, including the incubators. Therefore, we are also promoting the INT Accelerator Pilot Scheme. We are introducing some experienced R&T sector to set up their headquarters in Hong Kong so that there will be a strengthening to the R&T sector in Hong Kong. We are also supporting the funds at a cap of 30 million Hong Kong dollars. So be it the manufacturing sector or other industries, they can make good use of all these policies to upgrade and transform themselves. PS? Yes. Okay, please be brief, DSD. Thank you for your question. Thank you for your recognitions on our works in revitalizing Choi Ping River. For Kai Tak River, it has also been previously revitalized. You have mentioned about the odor. Well, actually, the ED has always been concerned about this area, especially after the establishment of the Kai Tak Sports Park. So together with ED, DSD, and the Buildings Department, we have been putting efforts into stopping the pollutants upstream. We see fruits of our effort. You know, for DSD, we are also making use of the desilting robots in the box coolants in order to desilt. While on one hand, we can help ensure free flow in the drainage and also to decrease the odor. Well, I want to ask about the lower stream of Kai Tak River. Do you have a certain standard in terms of water quality? If you say that level 2 is the standard, then people will know what to follow. If you are just talking about desilting, reducing odor, that I think it is not acceptable. I believe that there needs to be a standard for water quality. Any information that you would like to supplement? Well, Chairman, in terms of water quality, ED has always been reviewing water quality in the surrounding areas of the Victoria Harbour. They have a system to monitor water quality. We will direct your concerns to the ED. We have spent quite a lot of time on this question, but this is something that we can allow for today. So let's continue with the questions. Next, Mr. William Wong. Chairman, I agree with the observations of Mr. Yang Wing-kit. After listening to the presentation, I can understand that the two bureaus have been putting a lot of effort into this, but it feels scattered. You mentioned about technology and its application. For sure, they are necessary. However, at meetings of this kind, shall we focus on the higher level? First, when we are talking about smart city, how can we match technology according to our town planning? And that certainly includes what Mr. Yang just mentioned, including enhancing living standard, attracting population to live here. As for new industrialization, we should be talking about industrial planning. What Mr. Yang has just mentioned is absolutely correct. Kowloon East carry certain characteristics. So what is the kind of industry that fits this district the most? All that you were talking about is that we have the garment industry or the printing industry in the past. And what we need to do is to upgrade them. Well, perhaps it's something that you need to do, but if you are talking about new industrialization, shall we be more forward-looking? when we talk about new industrialization, we want to introduce the industry to this district. What are we going to do in order to support them better?
時候呢，
I remember before we had a conference, we had certain guest speakers. They said in Kowloon East there was some religious attraction and we can develop it as a tourism destination. I think that's an example of how we can make sure to tie in with town planning. I have also read the Smart City 2.0 blueprint. We were already talking about making use of Kowloon East as a testing ground. Do we have a specific blueprint for developing a smart city testing ground in Kowloon East? We haven't seen that, and honestly, I think the government's efforts have been quite fragmented with this smart city development as well as development of low altitude economy. Where should the population be? What facilities should be available? Where they're going to work? Where they're going to spend their leisure time? We need to think about that. I urge the administration to review this. Also, you talked about there being a MyKE app. I think there are some contents that are repeated. Why would I need easy walking, easy parking functions? We already have the Hong Kong e-mobility app. Why do we need this additional app for Kowloon East residents? If people are just visiting the area, do they need the app? It actually confuses citizens as to which app they should go for. Why not just make good use of the Hong Kong e-mobility app? That would be easier for everyone. Thank you. The member asked several questions. Permanent Secretary. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Professor Wong. I will let the Planning Department and the RTIB colleagues answer the specific questions of the member. I will also ask the head of the EKEO to answer the question on MyKE app. We need data before we can take forward applications. So with data collection, standardization, and setting up a platform for public use of such data, the Data Spatial Office has been doing good work in that. I'll let the Planning Department colleague answer the question on planning. Maybe I'll first ask the RTIB colleague to answer the question relating to new industrialization of the member, and then I'll ask the Planning Department colleague to answer the question on planning, and then I'll ask the head of the EKEO to answer the question on the MyKE app. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Wong, for your questions. In 2022 December, the RTIB has promulgated the INT Development Blueprint. It is a top-level design that would set out the development directions for the INT industry in Hong Kong. In the past 2 years, we have been implementing the blueprint. We have now gone into greater detail for new industrialization in Hong Kong. We have 5 directions, 5 areas in particular: life and health technology, semiconductor chips, as well as the digital transformation, sustainable development, and AI and robotics. Within 3 years, every year we have a $10 billion scheme launch, including in 2023, we have the Race Plus scheme. Last year, we have the new industrialization acceleration scheme. It is also of $10 billion. This year, we are preparing for the launch of $10 billion research, academia, and industrial fund. As for which area this will take place, I think it's inappropriate to ask enterprises to select a particular area. We think we should leave it to the enterprises to decide. Kowloon East is relatively crowded. It may be hard to implement large-scale production in the area. We have various industrial buildings indeed. So maybe we can make use of industrial buildings to develop the INT industries, to create clusters of INT enterprises. We have some parks in the new territories, including the Science Park. We also have the Cyberport. They are quite full, and the Science Park is already at 90% occupancy rate. I think we can make good use of Kowloon East for the clustering of INT enterprises in future. But we would have to rely on the concerted efforts of various sectors. We need to make sure we are working with, say, incubator service providers to help us with that. Honestly, we can't do it ourselves within the government. Is that it? Is there going to be someone else answering my questions? Well, let me also say this. Kowloon East has many advantages for enterprises and investors, so we should make sure we are promoting to them these advantages of Kowloon East. We have been working with different departments, OACs, Invest Hong Kong, and the Trade Development Council, to make sure they know about the advantages of Kowloon East, so that when they reach out to interested investors and organizations, they can promote Kowloon East to them. All right, perhaps I'll ask the head of the EKEO to answer the question on the My KE app first. Thank you. My KE app is a testing application. As early as 2016, we have developed with the Lands Department this application. Again, this is a testing application. This was launched before the e-mobility app, actually. As a testing application, the MyKE app has been shared with various departments for them to model on and develop larger applications. Again, this is a testing application, the MyKE app. We have been testing different functions lately. We have been working with the Digital Policy Office to develop a function for those with visual impairment, the walking assistant function, and we have worked with various organizations sharing this function with them so that they will know, say, the transportation network, and then they can build their own applications on this function. There may be some overlapping in functions of the two applications, but let me say this, our application came first, and this is a testing application, and we can share our outcomes with other organizations. Professor Wang, I understand that your application came first. Will you consider merging the two apps because it will be more user-friendly? Let's just have a super app from the government to facilitate users. You also talked about there being a new function to facilitate those with visual impairment. But then I think with smart city planning and development, you need to make sure there are characteristics with different areas, and we should make sure there are areas that are green and would be facilitating. I think the efforts should be less scattered. We should make sure each area has their own characteristic, and that's what I meant about tying in with town planning. I think what Dr. Ge talked about INT development blueprint, it is not specific to Kowloon East. It applies equally to Northern Metropolis. I think we need to make sure we are tying this in with town planning. I don't think the RTIB colleague talked about their specific direction in Kowloon East. I know that the RTIB has done a lot. They have established platforms, but then they're just leaving it to the industries and the various sectors to go out on their own. I think we need to take a different approach. We need to take the lead in the development of INT. We need to set out the directions for development. Thank you. I'll let the RTIB colleague supplement my answers in relation to INT. Let me say this. Kowloon East as the second CBD has a vision tied to it. I'll let the head of the EKEO talk about that later. We also have some technological applications being tested in the area. I'll let the planning department colleague answer that question. I'll first let the head of the EKEO talk about the vision of Kowloon East that will tie in with the overall development of Hong Kong. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Since 2011, the policy address, Kowloon East is set out to be the second CBD to complement the traditional CBD. So it is to be developed as the second CBD. It has its own characteristics as the second CBD. It will play, for example, an important part in smart city development testing. We also hope to have the area to be more green and more friendly to live in. We also plan to develop the harborfront further in Kowloon East. We also want to implement easy walking in the area to facilitate pedestrians. As the second CBD, Kowloon East can emphasize the relationship with creators. We want to incorporate more elements of creativity in Kowloon East. As the Permanent Secretary said, Kowloon East has its characteristic history. We hope to make good use of advanced technologies to create an environment favorable to new industrialization in Kowloon East. I'll now ask the Planning Department colleague to supplement the answers. Thank you. The Planning Department has all along been making use of advanced technologies in town planning. For example, we are making use of the 3D modeling technique that is very advanced. That will help us not only see things in 2D. With the modeling technique, it will model the specific area in 3D so that we can see how the development will, for example, affect the ridgeline and at which height would be appropriate. It will help with town planning. So we have been developing some softwares. For planning applications, we will conduct assessments with such technologies for the consideration of the town planning board so they can make use of the latest technologies to see the impact of the development. So we have been doing work in this regard.
I can supplement 2 points. The development of Kowloon East requires a lot of requires us to remember our original intent, that is to make good use of its traditional manufacturing sector. Therefore, we are actively looking into building some landmark corporations of large scale. But of course, there's still a lot of moving parts, and it is not a good time for me to disclose too much. We are also starting to develop a mid to long-term survey of the new industrialization in Hong Kong. Mr. William Wong, all the needs and suggestions that you highlighted will be included in the survey. We will actively looking into each and every district in Hong Kong, including Kowloon East. Thank you. Okay, we have taken up quite a lot of time. If you have any new questions or follow-up questions, please submit for a second round of questions. Mr. Cheng Pui Leung. Thank you, Chair. Similar to the two colleagues, well, judging at the information provided for us, well, I know that you have talked about a lot of policies, schemes, and funds, but it can be applied to anywhere, not just Kowloon East. No matter where you locate, you can still make good use of those funding. So it is not targeted. But today we are talking about developing new industry in Kowloon East. I can't gain much from your presentation today in this regard. If we want to develop new industry in the CBD2, it has to be targeted. As the head of EKEO mentioned, you said that it is difficult for you to force any industries to go into this district because we are in a free market. Or however, as a policy bureau, you need to take up the role of promoting. You have to send information to the market, telling them that we are setting certain directions for some new industry in Kowloon East. Just now, you have mentioned some traditional industries, including printing, garment, and even the handiwork tools. However, all these industries are moving to other locations right now. If we want them to upgrade and transform, I'm not sure how possible it is for us to attract them back into this district. We have Science Park, we have Cyberport, but how can they do their R&D in order to find something that fits K&E as the development of new industrialization? I think this is an area that we need to put more effort into. Not every project fits. We have to look into the special features of Kowloon East so that it will be favorable to the development of our I&T development in the future. We need to look into both sides because we need to communicate with Kowloon East. There needs to be a bridge so that we will be more clear about our positioning. So that in the future, we will have a more concrete directions. Otherwise, you will just have some policies in place. Well, you know, a free market can be highly segregated, but we need a goal, we need a direction, and to guide people to do certain things. It will be more impactful. As you know, the renovation of many buildings will follow to the market needs. Many industrial buildings are being restructured into warehouse, but we do need a lot of auxiliary facilities for the new development. Can we put more thoughts into it? Well, can we make good use of these areas to develop some smart storage, etc.? I don't think that we need to be so targeted at the moment, but we need to provide them some guidance so that we will not be overlapping resources with other districts. This is my view. I think Mr. Cheng Pui Leung has shared his views. There are views that worth digging deeper into. the government has thought of a lot of new initiatives and you want to put it into testing in Kowloon East, but it seems to be quite segregated. We can't see a clear directions. And for ITIB, you are talking about some territory-wide schemes, and it is difficult for you to target at Kowloon East, right? Well, you told us that there are already 8 smart assembly line. So how many of them is in Kowloon East, including Kowloon East, Kwun Tong, Sanpokong, even Kai Tak? What are the major industries that are making use of them? Is it some old family business or new businesses? Can you share more details with us so that we can understand the situations better? Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chen Pui-leung, for your questions. Perhaps I need to talk more about our policies. Under ITC, we have about 17 funds offering projects in different INT sectors with subsidies. Through these funds, we want to encourage and support the industries in Hong Kong to upgrade their INT level and to infuse new energies into the sector. We have territory-wide data for these funds. Well, because we do not review application according to the location, the ITC will take care of all these funds applications. And as we do that, we will not consider where they are located in. And we will not collect statistics according to the different districts. Because of the discussion today, perhaps it will be helpful for me to share my take on this and the information that I have received. We have quite a number of enterprises in Kowloon East that receive the subsidies from the ITC, including the New Industries Fund that I mentioned. Well, they are supporting the enterprises that are creating parts, electronics, garments, and textiles. These are some industries that are being funded by NIFS in Kowloon East. Before joining the government, I also supported a number of enterprises in Kowloon East to execute the cash rebate of enterprise invention, including digitalization and robotics. We really encourage the enterprises in that district to make good use of the subsidy scheme that we have provided to this end. I have a follow-up questions. Are they mostly new entrepreneurs, new businesses who come to Hong Kong, or they are enterprises that have been rooted in Hong Kong for decades? We have both. While taking the robotics project that I just mentioned, in the past, they are working on websites. But now they are focusing on the INT sector, specifically the development of robotics and apps. They want to build in these apps technology in robots and to put it into application in Hong Kong. Well, I hope that Dr. Minge can share more about these cases so that members will have a better idea. Yes, that's exactly what I mean. If there are so many successful cases, then the market will know that it is indeed feasible for me to work in a certain sector. And that is encouraging people to join in. Mr. Rincon. Thank you, Chair. I am very thankful for the chairman because in this subcommittee, we really need to discuss more strategically. We need to look at the development of Kowloon East as the second CBD on a higher level. I very much agree with what Mr. Chen Pui-leung said. We need strategies. We are not discussing on a micro level because it can be delegated to different government departments. I believe that this subcommittee needs to have discussion on a higher level. I have worked in Kowloon East for a period of time. I noticed that there have been developments in this area for years. Today, we are talking about the promotion of new industrialization and smart city. To be frank, I don't see much fruit. I think the population in this area has increased because there are new residential areas, retail, and F&B. I am really paying more attention to this area because there are more malls for shoppings and food. But if you are talking about smart city and new industrialization, frankly, I really don't see any outcomes. I heard that Mr. Chen Pui-leung has mentioned something which I really echoed. Today, we are talking about developing Kowloon East as a second CBD. When we are developing new industrialization, we have to be very careful about its role conflicting with the northern metropolis because we have finite resources, be it the private sector or the government. Are you able to stipulate clearly to the citizens and the investors about the development in Kowloon East? How is it different from that of Northern Metropolis? Apart from its geographical locations, are there any differences? Originally, we wanted to develop Kowloon East as the second CBD, and that's why the years of efforts. Well, if you talk about a new industrialization and smart city, you need to tell me which is your priority, because you have been developing it into a second CBD. But if now you are shifting your gear to new industrialization and smart city without clear explanation, then the investor will be confused. If I want to buy a piece of land there, if I want to invest into it, then I will be worried because I was thinking about a second CBD, but maybe a day later you will be talking about new industrialization or smart city or even something else. Investors will be worried because you seem to be having a double mind. Mr. Chen also talks about synergies. We are seeing bank sector and insurance sectors there. If you want to develop new industrialization, can you put more effort into AI? Well, if we can introduce more large INT enterprises there, then maybe Mr. Chen will be very happy because these INT sector can create synergies with sectors like the insurance companies. Can the government take the lead in development? You cannot just think behind closed doors. You need to talk with the commercial sectors because they will not have dialogues with other entrepreneurs. But as the government, you can be the bridge. You can encourage them to dialogue with each other. I think it takes at least 3 decades to develop a district. I'm not hurried. Well, I will give you sufficient time. I just hope that I can see the result within my lifetime. I hope that you can be targeted and focused. You need to play the role as a leader to develop this district according to some actual industries, not just some abstract concept. Permanent Secretary. Thank you, Ms. Kong. There are 2 parts of your questions. First, talking about smart city. While Kowloon East as a second CBD, we hope that it will be smart, green, and resilient. In our introduction, we also tells you how we prepare the infrastructure in terms of both hardware and software. As for new industrialization, I would like to defer it to ITIB. They can share more with you about their thoughts. As Dr. Mingge has mentioned, they are going to conduct a new survey looking into different districts. I will defer these questions to ITIB to give us more details.
Okay.
Commissioner. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ms. Kong. I agree with Ms. Kong for the development of the second CBD in Kowloon East. as the name suggests, it is to be a CBD, so we should not be developing traditional manufacturing any further. And honestly, there are constraints posed by the area. In the northern metropolis, we have the loop as a pilot base, a research and development base. And it is to serve the Central Technopole in helping the INT enterprises develop as an industry. With INT development, they would require much infrastructure. Say for life and health technologies in particular, they need specific premises. Traditional industrial buildings won't do. However, Kowloon East as the second CBD can do well in manufacturing of services. Or we can focus on producer services. We have now a new form. And that manufacturing can different forms. We can have smaller scale production. We can have innovative production models. This is the direction that Kowloon East can take in development. Whenever enterprises reach out to us, we will recommend Kowloon East. We believe Kowloon East can meet their demand because there are many industrial buildings in Kowloon East. Let me say this again. I think we need to work together, the industrial and business sectors of Kowloon East. If we can create a cluster, it would be the way to go. If we only rely on rents collected from those renting the units in industrial buildings, I think that won't do. We need to be innovative and try to attract more INT enterprises. Mr. Rincon, would you like to follow up on this? I can speak for the second round. Thank you, Chair. All right, Mr. Yu Patlung, I'll assign a 6-minute time limit. Thank you for giving me time to speak. And honestly, it is not often that we can get so much time to speak. On developing new industrialization and smart city development in Kowloon East, I have no expert advice to offer, but I can share with you some of my observations. As Ms. Kong said, I have also witnessed the development of Kowloon East. I have seen many traditional industrial buildings redeveloped into commercial premises. We have more office buildings now. We have also seen the installation of smart lampposts in Kowloon East, and they are still in operation today. We have seen in hardware there has been much change. In fact, we have also been developing the harborfront, which is a form of hardware. We have seen great change in the harborfront. In terms of development of industries, however, in the area, it seems that the market is taking the lead in developing the area and industries in the area. The government hasn't really had a direction in developing Kowloon East and developing industries in the area. We have been asking what industries we should focus on developing in Kowloon East, but we haven't had much in response. We need to consider the people flow, the economic flow, the flow of various factor inputs, really. We do not have a grasp on the situation. I think with smart city development, there should be more for people to actually know and see, therefore enhancing public understanding of the development in Kowloon East. On development of the harborfront, I recently went to Shenzhen to attend an event, and I went to the Shenzhen Harborfront Park. It has a 13.5-kilometer section along the harborfront. It goes from Shenzhen Bay to somewhere close to Luowu. This is a harborfront section. I also would recommend going to the smart runway development in Shenzhen Bay, as well as a drone base of Meituan for delivery services. I think we talked about developing low altitude economy in Kowloon East as well. And there are some regulatory sandbox projects being taken forward. I believe within this quarter we will have some project evaluations released. Now in Kowloon East we have the Kai Tak Cruise Terminal. We have much land in the Kai Tak area. We also have some sites close to the harborfront. Can we make good use of these sites for developing low altitude economy, testing out low altitude economy applications, say the drone delivery services? And we should not be limited to, say, the Kai Tak area. We can perhaps test sending water from Kai Tak to the peak. So people can order water on an app and have water delivered to the peak. Or when someone wants a coffee close to the harborfront, it can be delivered to them. I think there is much potential in the area to be developed in this way. So is it possible that we can do something like this in the area? Can we further develop the harborfront to test out the applications? We have a lot of people making use of the harborfront. For jogging, they will test their running speed. I think there are many applications that can be quite interesting and that can help people actually understand that the area is a part of the Smart City initiative. I think the suggestion of the member is quite good. We need to make sure the people can feel that the area is smart. Thank you. Permanent Secretary. The positioning of Kowloon East is to be the second CBD, and the Commissioner talked about what industries are available in the area. Let me say this, Kowloon East is large. It is actually comparable in size as Central. So there is scale in terms of development of a CBD, but we cannot just scrap what is already here. We have the traditional manufacturing sector and we have the rich history of Kowloon East to consider. I think we can develop other industries, however, in the area. As the RTIB colleagues said, they did talk about their plans on development of industries in the area. And from the papers, it shows that Kowloon East is a good testing ground. And in recent years, we have been promoting the development of Smart City. And Kowloon East is a pioneer in this area, and it is a good testing ground because it is highly developed. It also is positioned to become the second CBD. It provides a great testing ground for us to test different smart applications. Just as our colleague mentioned earlier, the 3D modeling map actually was tested in Kowloon East, and it will soon be extended for use in other parts of Hong Kong. So that all started in Kowloon East. We have also some hydrological and drainage services management applications that were tested in Kowloon East and will soon have such applications used in other parts of Hong Kong. The smart lampposts were also tested in Kowloon East first. So these have become basic infrastructure in Kowloon East. We have also tested going green in Kowloon East. And now in other new development areas, we will incorporate in the land lease conditions the green building designs. Again, this all started in Kowloon East, and the head of the EKEO will take the lead in promoting collaboration with various sectors of the community to develop further in this regard. On development of low altitude economy, this is a large-scale initiative, and the chief executive announced last year that we would establish a working group on developing low altitude economy. It is to be led by the financial secretary, and they have reported the latest progress to the panel on economic development. The Secretary for Transport and Logistics last week responded to an oral question raised by Ms. Elizabeth Court on this. The TLB, as said in the paper, is taking forward regulatory sandbox projects. 72 applications were received, and the working group is currently evaluating the projects. We hope to have the results announced within this quarter, and then we'll take forward the various projects. The TLB will also report their latest work through the panel on economic development, and we invite members of the panel to visit different facilities on low altitude economy. The TLB is making regular reports already, so I'm not going into the details here. But as I observed in Kowloon East, if there are low altitude economy applications that can be tested there, I'm sure the working group will consider such. Thank you, Ms. Starry or Dr. Starry Lee. I hope that the government can take concrete action to tell the public that the Kowloon East area is indeed the second CBD. We all support the development of Northern Metropolis, so we have a dual economy going. We see the government attaching great importance to the development of Northern Metropolis, and we do want to see great results. However, it seems that the government is now slowing down its development progress in Kowloon East. That's what we don't want to see. So Central has a focus on finance. Northern Metropolis has a focus in tech. I think Kowloon East can focus on culture as well as recreational and creative activities. We have the Kai-Tak area that can be a testing area for low altitude economy applications and smart city applications. We have Kowloon East, a pioneer in smart city development, and with the commissioning of the Kai-Tak Sports Park, I think we can do more, and I think the government can show its determination to develop Kowloon East as a second CBD with concrete actions. the government is supposed to be a facilitator. We shouldn't leave commercial activities to navigate on their own. So has the government considered what we are going to do in terms of positioning, how you're actually going to facilitate development of the second CBD in Kowloon East? I think you shouldn't leave people be, because we have many competitors competing for enterprises and talents. If we make sure there is complementary development, that would be ideal. And if Kowloon East can be developed into the second CBD, that would be ideal. Can the government share more about their plans with us? Thank you.
Yes, Permanent Secretary. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Lee. What we wish to achieve is actually in line with what you just shared. I think looking forward, we need to put more effort into telling a good story of the Kowloon East being a second CBD. We have already completed a lot of work. The head of the Office of Energizing Kowloon East has already been doing such work. We also see the fruits of the effort. Maybe I can defer it to the head of EKEO later. I've already responded to the questions about LAE. I believe that the other bureaus will update you in no time. As for Smart City and the commissioning of Kai Tak Sports Park, I trust that all these initiatives will give a boost in the spirit for this district, because it is very unique to have the CBD as well as some other developments in vicinity. At the next meeting, we will give you more details. I would like to defer this question to my colleague regarding our role as a facilitator. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Lee. As mentioned, we position Kowloon East as the second CBD in Hong Kong. It is a very clear positioning. In the past, we are targeting at revitalizing the old industrial building, and we are rezoning this area so that we can enhance the supply of commercial building in the district. Since we have rolled out these policies, the GFA of commercial buildings has already doubled. And the scale is now up to that of Central. Therefore, we already have all the hardware in place. Since it is going to be a second CBD, so the development of our financial services and insurance these are things that we are closely monitoring. According to the statistics in 2018, well, if we are talking about the fire industries, that is multinational enterprises, we can see that the numbers keep increasing. From the combination of these industries, we can see that it is actually supporting the development of traditional commercial building in Hong Kong. A lot of our back office of these enterprises are now located in Kowloon East. This is something that we are happy to see. Through many of our policies, we are also enhancing the Kowloon East district because we want to develop it into a smart city. The density of green building in this district is one of our greatest advantages. Well, the supply of A-class office building is in this district is rather young. It also helps attract new businesses to Kowloon East. Given our background, we have different types of properties at different levels. They are of different prices, different use, different land use, and at different levels. Anything you would like to add? Chair, I hope that at the next meeting there will be documents explaining to us. I hope that you will share with us in documents about the works that you have done already. So I will speak next. Ms. Doreen Kong also requests to speak for a second round. So after me, I will direct the time to Ms. Doreen Kong. Hello, Permanent Secretary and the two commissioners. Today we have some long discussions about the development as a free market, or the SAR government shall offer some favorable policies, or should take up a role to facilitate its development. I think these are some core questions that we have been asking since the beginning of this subcommittee. Do we have a core team working on this? Perhaps there needs to be some designated personnel or some specific departments taking the leading role in this area. Today we are talking about new industrialization and the INT sector. So how much economic values has this city created for Hong Kong? How much GDP has it generated? You said that we don't need to divide it according to districts. We just need to look at Hong Kong as a whole. Well, today we still see a lot of industrial buildings in Kowloon East. Given our prospects towards the development of the property market, I believe that the remodeling of industrial buildings into Class A office buildings is going to slow down. Therefore, we are certainly going to see groups of industrial buildings in Kowloon East, including Sanpo Kong and Kwun Tong. Do we know how much business activities is still remain in these old industrial buildings? Sometimes there are some old businesses there. Maybe there are some small-scale old businesses, family businesses, or even some multinational enterprises. Do we have this information? Well, at the end of the day, we know that Kwun Tong and Kowloon East is the most important industrial district in Hong Kong back then, during our prime time as an industrial city. And this is not Northern Metropolis. It is not a brand new area. There are some existing buildings and existing land user there. We are unable to turn all of them into commercial buildings within a short period of time. Do you really understand the actual operation of industrial activity in Kowloon East? My second question is about attracting and introducing businesses and fundings into the district. I know that you have done some initial analysis. You said that Kowloon East is highly accessible and it is quite vibrant in terms of industrial and commercial activities. Therefore, information flow is very important. You said that this is a highly accessible district. It is having a unique position to develop itself into an incubators because of its pedestrian flows and other free flow of businesses. Do you have any more specific measures so that we can build up Kowloon East as an incubator? The Hong Kong SAR government has a lot of INT activities, right? If you're going to consider Kowloon East first as an incubator, then this is one very favorable conditions. Do you have any measures of that kind? Can we just disregard the age or the use of the building? If they are going to turn itself into an incubator, then you are going to examine it from the stamp duty. Is this possible? This is something that is going to be welcomed by the market. My question is, do you have these measures in place? Well, because we are doing a lot of professional activities there. We have land planning, we have INT development. If this is our focus, then do we have some matching measures in place? So my first question is asking about the understanding of the situation. Second is the matching of policies. There are a number of questions. I think there are two major directions. That is the actual development situation of Kowloon East at the second CBD and the future positioning. Second question is about the policy promotion for new industrialization. Kowloon East is a vast piece of land. There are different industries and different sectors in this area. Speaking of its scale as a CBD, we know that it is comparable to Central. So probably we are not targeting at transforming the whole district into a CBD. It is up to our future development and market trends. We will put in place different policies to encourage some existing buildings or industrial buildings to turn themselves into commercial buildings. The overall economic situation is not just affecting Kowloon East, it's affecting Hong Kong as a whole and even the whole world. You also ask about statistics. You ask, do we know how many buildings in Kowloon East still have some active industrial activities going on? I would defer it to the Planning's Department. As for the development of new industrialization, I will defer the questions to my colleagues from ITIB. Just now, Chairman, you have stated a very good point. That is about information. We have some very unique facilities and environments. If there are enterprises or organizations that are looking for such locations, how can we share this information to them so that they can decide whether or not they're going to settle in Kowloon East? Our head of our EKEO has always been in touch with different institutions. They are all offices about attracting or introducing enterprises into Hong Kong. And we have already briefed them about the development of Kowloon East. As Commissioner mentioned, when he is in touch with the sectors, he also shares information about Kowloon East. But truly, we need to prepare our information pack better so that more people will be aware of the development in Kowloon East. Perhaps I can defer these questions to EKEC, talk about the statistics of the district, and then the next question will be deferred to ITIB about the guidance of the market in new industrialization. Planning's Department. Thank you, Chair. In 2020, the Planning's Department has conducted a territory-wide survey about the industrial activity in Hong Kong. I do not have the specific statistics about the industrialization of Kowloon East, but it should be there in that report. Perhaps I can supplement it later. You can send us a written supplement. Well, but that survey was done in 2020 and now it's 2025. Commissioner, thank you, Chair. Just now you have asked about our policies. We are seeing some rapid development in the INT sector and the industry is renewing very quickly. We have to be constantly reviewing the latest trends. We have to revise our old policies and roll out new ones accordingly. In recent years, we are actively rolling out the INT Accelerator Pilot Scheme. And there is something that I would like to clarify. At the moment, we are preparing a development plan for the mid and long-term development of the new industry in Hong Kong. This is according to the 4 major directions and the 8 major sectors set out in the blueprint. This is something that targets at Hong Kong as a whole, not any particular district. But of course, we are doing a lot of survey and collecting a lot of opinions, especially from those traditional industries. They are distributed in Kowloon East and areas like Kwai Chung. We would collect comments from them in order to formulate our new direction. As Chair mentioned, we are not only here to guide them, we also want to facilitate and attract enterprises to Hong Kong. If we have any success cases, we're surely going to come back to report to you.
要啦，即係話
Sure, we would love to hear that. Policy is important, but it is also important to know what is actually happening in the area, how much in resources can be provided to various sectors. I think the government needs to do better in grasping the latest information in the area. Let's work harder in future. Mr. Incong, the speaker's microphone is not on. I think implementation is very much important. And honestly, citizens are just looking at the results. When we discuss policies, we should be pragmatic. I'm not sure how far Kowloon East is in development, and we shouldn't really just focus on the redevelopment of industrial buildings. I think the administration, in particular the commissioner, should conduct on-site surveys to see how the industrial buildings are being utilized at the moment. I park my car in Kowloon East during the weekends. I note that in new commercial buildings, they are making use of the units as dance studios, manga rooms, or even the hairdressers studios. So we have buildings that are quite beautiful. Why are we using the units like for these purposes rather than what we intended those units to do, say new industrial units? If Kowloon East is to be developed into the second CBD, while you do allow commercial activity to be taking place in commercial premises, these are not what you are looking for. So there is a gap in the expectations and reality. We shouldn't let the second CBD remain as a slogan. If we need to achieve new industrialization in Kowloon East, we shouldn't only say it in name. We need to make sure we are achieving our intention. If we are not achieving our intention, we are not doing something right. In Central, you do not see many of these, right? So we need to really conduct on-site surveys to make sure we are achieving what we intend to achieve. As I said earlier, implementation is very important, therefore. Mr. Yu Pat Leung mentioned yacht before. I like this image shown here, but I know this is not the reality. We shouldn't be limited by the vision of Kowloon East being the second CBD. Kowloon East is a large area. We have a great harborfront. We also have the cruise terminal. Let me say this, I won't comment on how good we're doing in the cruise terminal, but at least we shouldn't waste it. If we can have, say, marina, some say that we should have a marina, but I disagree. I think instead we should make sure we have berthing spaces for super yachts, and that marina I can do with. And let me say this, I think there is synergy between the different developments in Kowloon East. In different cities in the world, they would have super yacht marinas. Well, I'm talking about yachts, but it can also apply to cruises, because the super rich would see a prosperous landscape and they would like it. They would think that this city is good for them, because after work they can ask, say, their clients or their friends to go on their super yachts. We have seen super yachts bringing about development in Monaco and Mallorca in Spain and Uruguay, Punta del Este. We have seen with these super yacht cities, super yachts have brought about vibrancy in these cities. So can the administration review their strategy? Apart from focusing on commercial and industrial activities, can we look at the harbor front to make sure we're maximizing the potential? I have all along been promoting Yao Tong Bay to be developed as a yacht marina, so that's just what I like to add here. Permanent Secretary. Thank you, member, for drawing attention to the development of industrial buildings and the use of industrial buildings in Kowloon East. If we can use flexibly the floor space in industrial buildings under this economic situation, I think that would be good. What the member mentioned are mostly services, and I perhaps will let the Commissioner provide further information on the use of industrial buildings later. On development of yacht economy, the Development Bureau actually talked about before in several locations. The Bureau will be inviting expressions of interest on developing such locations as yacht marinas, and in fact in Hong Kong it is one of the locations, and it is close to the urban areas. It is also in the Victoria Harbour, so that can be a very good location. We have also talked about how in Kwun Tong Typhoon Shelter it can offer some berthing spaces for yachts, or we can hold some yacht exhibitions there. The Marine Department representative then said it might happen. So the Development Bureau has been facilitating the coordination of such policies. We have also some expectations for yacht activities to take place in Kwun Tong. I'll let the Commissioner or the head of the EKEO supplement my answers on the use of industrial building units in Kowloon East. We have all along attached great importance to the mix, and we have conducted some surveys. We will soon release the latest findings of the latest round of the surveys. We have observed in some grade A offices, as some of my colleagues said, we have finance, real estate, and insurance industries. We have seen an increase in such uses. For conversion of industrial buildings to commercial buildings, we have seen many occupants being startups. They engage in digital or creative work. We have seen some occupants. For some that have yet to be converted, for those industrial buildings, there has been some ACC usage, that is for arts and cultural and creative uses. We will soon release the latest report. We will conduct some analyses, and once we have the results, we will share them with members. Mr. Rincon, any follow-up questions? I just would like to add something. I hope the administration can can heed the chairman's advice, we should have the yachts facilities in Kwun Tong instead of Hong Kong, because we have limited resources in Hong Kong, unfortunately. Well, I think we can have multiple marinas, but we should prioritize the development in Yau Tong. Thank you. Any other questions from members? If not, I have some brief questions, and that will be the end of discussion of this item. We have different commercial operation models now. People don't need as much space to operate their businesses now, with people going digital. Also, do we need a clear distinction between traditional industries and commercial activities? Or is there some overlap? And in fact, we have seen people having commercial come living spaces. We have ITIB colleagues here. For areas that mix new and old, is it possible that we can be more innovative in Kowloon East so that we can have some benchmark industries developed in Kowloon East with policy support, and with the experience in Kowloon East, maybe a review is in order. The head talked about how a report on the latest round of surveys will be available. I want to ask, have you, when collecting the data, communicated with the TID on this? And as the chairman of the subcommittee, I have some observations. I think perhaps after the meeting, the administration can work with members on new industrialization and provide some information on entrepreneurs in Kowloon East, and perhaps arrange some visits for some entrepreneurs' facilities that have received policy support, so that members can have the latest information, and it can also help members analyze what kind of industries should be developed in Kowloon East. Thank you. We note the chairman's questions and suggestions. I think Kowloon East has its characteristics. It is part of its history that it is undergoing transformation, and we are promoting the development of Kowloon East into the second CBD with reference to such history. And with the industrial building owners, we have been facilitating coordination and conversion, but that would also depend on market demand. And I think with this approach, we can offer some flexibility in the redevelopment of the area. We have offered flexibility in different areas of our work, including the allowed uses, the allowed activities. We have a very rich list, so there is much flexibility. So one can do various things in the units. Of course, we can't have people living there, but we also have some commercial accommodation or hotel and guest houses available there. On actual visits, we can perhaps work with the head of the EKEO and the commissioner to arrange for some entrepreneurs to tell their good stories to us. I'll now let the commissioner speak, or the head speak.
Okay. Speaking of the procedures of our survey, The way that we do it is to visit door to door for interviews and survey. At the first stage, we are doing more some technical side, and we do need to do more analysis, and we need to work together with the doctors, Mingge, for more analysis. And we are not just collecting data, but we want to analyze it so that we can take one step further. We surely work together with Dr. Mingge in order to work it out together. Any response from ITIB? Chair, I try to respond to your questions. The first about the areas involved in INT activity. According to what I know, in mainland China, especially in the INT land use in Shenzhen, for each R&D personnel, they would need about 15 to 20 square meter of area. For a larger institutions, perhaps they might require about up to 20 meter feet. And they would not be working in some small areas of land because they are trying to build up an incubator or taking the INT sector as a community, because it will be a more favorable environment to them. Their demands in space is rather keen. We also have a very positive environment because there are a lot of enterprises who would like to step outside. Sometimes they are providing services, sometimes they are focusing on the products. And I think this is an opportunity for Kowloon East to grasp. Any supplement from the administration? Well, the final message from ITIB is very important. There are many enterprises in mainland China who would like to step outside, and the Kowloon East district is an attractive district for them. Mr. William Wong, I very much agree. Can we promote some quote-unquote sister districts or sister zone? Because we have a lot of experience in communicating with those in mainland China. We need to work closer together. We have already a lot of services and platforms, but we need customers, and we can find customers from mainland China. So apart from sister schools, we need to match and connect with some sister zone or sister district. All right, perhaps this is the end of our discussion. Any other business? If there is no any other business, well, this subcommittee only lasts until June. So if we are going to have any field visit, it has to be done before June. I hope that you will all participate actively. This is the end of the meeting. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.